One thing we know for sure about 2021, it's going to give us a lot more to talk about.
Y'all got to watch this.
Questions are the most important thing.
How y'all doing?
Is it a fedora?
Has the Electoral College outlived its usefulness?
You want to win the game or the set of games?
What the hell are NFTs?
I know so little that I don't know what question to ask.
The experience of meaningful engagement is a marker that you're where you should be, doing what you should be at the right time.
When we feel free, we feel more empowered to show up in our lives.
Have a conversation with people and to give them value. I would love for you to be in that position of power.
That's when you become empowered, is when you no longer care.
I have to tell you about The Newsworthy.
This is the Woman Evolve podcast.
Trashy Divorces, a good podcast about bad relationships.
Intelligence Squared, argument with a purpose.
Go listen to the podcast Darknet Diaries.
This is the Art Curious podcast.
This is the future of where everything is going.
Welcome everybody to the AdvertiseCast, powered by Libsyn, IAB Upfront session. My name is Dave Hanley, and I'm Chief Revenue Officer of AdvertiseCast.
Hi, I'm America Mandy. I'm founder and host of the daily news podcast called The Newsworthy, where we give you the day's news in about 10 minutes every Monday through Friday. And Dave, I'm excited to be here with you. I know we've been working together for about 3 years now. And I think when we first were starting to work together, I had a much smaller audience, but you guys did an amazing job filling the ad spots, getting repeat buyers. And so I figured this could work, and we've stuck with you ever since.
That's what gets us up in the morning. We love working with independent creators who are going out there doing something different. They have a different idea about how things should be done in media, and we just absolutely love supporting that.
Okay, so Dave, tell us a little bit about what a creator company is and how you, AdvertiseCast and Libsyn, are really positioned to take charge of that.
The way we look at the world right now is that we're in a creator economy. And even the world outside of podcasting is experiencing a creator-first renaissance. For example, there's over 37 million YouTube channels. There's more than 500,000 Instagram influencers, and 83% of the more than 1 billion active TikTok users are posting content every day. Even popular journalists are leaving huge media companies to start their own Substacks. According to a recent survey by Signal Fire and PSFK, more than 50 million people around the world are now considering themselves creators, so that's massive. So from our perspective, creators are the future of podcasting. Libsyn and AdvertiseCast were made for this moment. Independent voices are where media industry is at today, and as a brand, you really need to figure out how to align properly with those voices. And tapping into independent creators isn't easy. Enabling this is what we're all about, though. So that's what we're going to look at today, how we as a company can help you as a brand enable and tap into those voices to not only support them, but to get your messaging out to their audiences in a really effective way. And Erica, as one of those independent voices that's changing media today, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. Thank you, Dave. So I spent actually more than a decade in traditional television news. So I was with the big guys for a while. And I kept hearing from people, especially my age and younger, that they were tuning out news altogether because they felt overwhelmed. They felt news was too depressing or biased or just too time consuming. And so I really became passionate about trying to find a way to solve those problems for them. And I ended up quitting my job in television to start a podcast. I saw where the trends were and that podcasting was getting more and more popular. And not only did I want to be on the forefront of media, but I really wanted to help people stay informed and have better conversations and not feel so overwhelmed by the news. So I created The Newsworthy, saw an opportunity to do news in a little bit of a different way from an independent voice that's still credible, that still has that experience. And The Newsworthy is what we call fast, fair, and fun. So it's fast. It's about 10 minutes every day. That's it. That's all the time you need to get a really good overview of what's going on. It's fair and unbiased. So we spend a lot of time really bringing in different perspectives and getting our facts right. And then it's fun. I try to bring a friendly voice to the show where people feel like it's just their smart friend talking about what's happening in the day over coffee. And we also do a wide variety of shows. Of stories. So it's not just the doom and gloom stuff. And thankfully, as we talked about before, my audience has continued to grow, and it really has resonated with people because people don't want to feel anxiety about news, but they do want to be informed.
Erica, I just want to jump in and say your show obviously is really popular amongst our advertisers, and you've really struck a chord not only with your audience, but also in the industry in general. I guess in the spirit of reporting the news, which is what you do every day, could you share some trends about what's happening in podcasting right now?
First, let's talk about the fact that the industry is growing. We've surpassed 2 million podcasts that are out there right now. And I think that just goes to show how much podcasting and podcasts have become part of our culture and part of media. Second, in terms of advertising, we're shifting from broad targeting to more niche targeting. The top 1,000 shows are being saturated with ads. And I think it makes it even harder for brands to really be heard and to cut through all of that noise. And really, there's a lot of opportunity outside of those top 1,000 shows. 2/3 of podcast downloads are happening outside of that 1,000 mark. So we're seeing those brands have success when they do prioritize the audience, the engaged audiences, and not just the titles. And I think that's the next point, is that brands really care more about the audiences that they're reaching than just the title of the show or the person that's going to be saying it. You need those audiences to be engaged, to have success with your message. And Dave, I know we've talked about this, that it's a highly effective strategy because one, those sponsors can get better prices. It's more efficient CPMs generally when you do an audience buy and don't just focus on getting that one top show. Or if you do a combination, it can bring the average price down. I think also for those brands who are a little hesitant to do a host read and they really want to make sure they're giving their message and they don't want to give up control of that message, then you have the opportunity to produce spots for those audience buys and have it heard across shows.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Erica, and thanks so much for that rundown. That was fantastic. And next, what we're going to do is introduce you to some of our creators. And first up, we have Damona Hoffman from Dates and Mates, which is a fantastic dating and relationships podcast. Damona, I'll turn it over to you.
The rules still apply, but the rules have changed.
Hi, I'm Damona Hoffman. I'm the host of the Dates and Mates podcast. You are here inside my podcast booth where I have broadcast this show for the last 9 years. It's Modern Love Made Simple, dating and relationship advice. And it's led to so many other iterations of my career and the content that I get to make. I'm a regular on the Drew Barrymore show and I give love advice with her. I also have a segment on Dates and Mates called Dear Damona that's been spun off into an LA Times column by the same name. And so I thought today it might be fun to take some Dear Damona questions, but from folks like you. Dear Damona, how can I be deeply integrated into a show? I love this question because I really like to form 360 relationships with all of the brands that I work with. We have some brands that are our banner sponsors. They're also integrated in our website and sometimes into even the additional programs and offerings that I have off of my podcast. We also have a robust social media presence, and there really is an ability to communicate directly to the kind of people that you're trying to reach when you work with a creator-first agency like AdvertiseCast. Dear Damona, how can I gain cred with your audience? Well, first of all, you have to know what they want. And it's really important to me to be aligned with brands that speak to the needs of my audience first. Like, I'm not just going to be reading ads. I know you've probably heard some of these podcasts where you can tell that the host doesn't believe in the messaging of the brand. And we're not doing any of those deals. And AdvertiseCast isn't bringing us brands that are not deeply aligned with our audience needs. Okay, here's a question I get a lot on the Dates and Mates podcast. Dear Damona, does size matter? Size doesn't matter as much as what you do with what you've got. And especially this applies when it comes to podcast advertising. even if a show doesn't have the most robust audience, and my own show, I've been doing it for 9 years, and the audience has built consistently over that time. But I have really loyal listeners that have been with me since the beginning, and they've followed the evolution of the show, and they've built this level of trust and understanding with me. And that's the great thing about working with a company like AdvertiseCast that has the ear of these creators who are speaking directly to niche audiences that are really passionate. Those are the Dear Damona questions for today's edition of the Dates and Mates podcast. Thanks for coming inside the booth to sit with me today. I wish you continued success and lots of luck on your future relationships, both in the podcasting space and beyond.
Thank you so much, Damona. All great questions and answers there. Next up, I'd like to introduce Rob Greenlee. He's the VP of Content Partnerships at Libsyn, as well as Danny Pena, founder and host of Gamer Tag Radio.
Let's jump right into it here and talk about indie creators and the power of indie creators and how they've really built this medium. And, you know, from my perspective, I go back to 2004, getting involved in the podcasting medium, and was an indie creator myself back in those days. And I still kind of consider myself to be one. But how important has that been to you in building your show over the many years you've been involved in the industry?
It is super important to me. The part that I love about podcasting is from the indie side is we don't have no rules. We'll come up with like different type of concepts of like of content, just the conversation, the very unique stories that of all different genres. And that's the thing that I loved about podcasting from the beginning, man, from the indie side, you know, and not only that, our audience is very engaged with us, you know, not only with me, but also my co-hosts. And I really, really like that a lot, man. I think it's very powerful.
Yeah. So as we think about kind of the bigger question in the industry right now, I know that the industry is growing and developing very rapidly, and a lot of big companies are getting involved. And so how do we, you know, kind of retain the indie roots in this medium, as most content creators in podcasting space come from the indie side?
See, for my side, you know, we've been indie, and we still are for now almost like 17 years. And there was a time where we signed a deal with a major network, and we were still independent. Our content was straight from us. They never had control over that. I think that's the part where people get super confused. Like when we got signed with that major company, people are like, "Wait, so that's it? Like you guys are not indie anymore?" Like, no, we are indie still. It's not. We're not changing at all, you know. And we kept it. We kept the same, the style, the content, the engagement that we have with our audience. It was everything still the same from us because of that. So
do you see or have any thoughts on, you know, from an ad buyer perspective, what an ad buyer should be looking for in a show that has that deep level of engagement?
Look, we have a video game show, and the majority of advertisers that we get on our show is non-gaming, zero. But we'll have different opportunities with companies on other things. That doesn't have to be live reads, right? It could be a live event or something like that, right? Or maybe they just want to advertise on our live show on Twitch, you know, something like that. But I love when a company hit us up and they want to, let's say they want to promote, for example, 100 Flowers, right? They sponsored on the show for a couple months, and it was like during Valentine's, during also Mother's Day. And we did that. We promoted on the show, and this has nothing to do about video games, man. You know, but our listeners, look, they're married, they have a girlfriend, they have mothers. You know, so there's a way to flip it to promote that to the audience, and also take advantage of that promo code, because that's going to help you also to save money. Right. And then you get that engagement. People not only buying, but then they'll send you an email saying, "Thank you, oh Danny, thank you so much. Right. I bought this product because of you. I saved tons of money." You know, that type of thing.
Danny, it's been great to have you with us on the IAB Upfronts with AdvertiseCast and Libsyn. Thank you for taking some time out to share your thoughts. It was great to speak with you again.
No, thank you for the invitation. It was fun.
We've been talking a lot about creators today and the shifts in podcasting and media. Let's take a moment also to think about the evolution in news storytelling. Next up, we're going to have Jack Rhysider, who's the host of a show called Darknet Diaries, which is part of the AdvertiseCast network. Jack does a phenomenal job of sharing stories from the dark side of the internet and has a massive audience of people that absolutely cannot get enough of his content. Let's hear from Jack about his perspective on when a story is truly ready to be told.
My name is Jack Rhysider. I'm a journalist and I make a news podcast about cybercrime, but listeners don't tune in to hear the latest news. No, that's not what my show's about. I don't even like reading about current events because it always feels like it's lacking a lot of details. Who did it? What was the damage? Why did they do it? None of these are answered in the first few days, weeks, or even years sometimes. And my audience is desperate for these answers. That's why they listen to my show. I'm a slow news junkie, and I've cultivated quite a following of people who are also slow news junkies. What I mean is that I will wait for years to cover a story if that's how long it takes to get all the questions answered. And I feel like this is the only way to tell the news properly, which is to be patient and wait for all the details to emerge, and then cover it from beginning to end with the full context. My listeners get their fix when they hear the whole story from me, because I believe the news should be properly told.
Next up, we want to introduce you to Brian Green from the Commercial Break podcast, as well as Allison Hare of Culture Changers, to talk about the intersection of podcasting and comedy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the IAB Upfronts. My name is Brian Green. I am the creator and co-host of the Commercial Break, and I'm here with my dear friend, Allison Hare. Hi, Allison.
Hey, Brian. I am Allison Hare. I'm the host of Culture Changers podcast.
Where are you at? You're in your child's bedroom right now?
That's right. My 8-year-old's bedroom, broadcasting live.
I love it.
It's
a great
very
setting
legitimate.
for the pandemic.
Yes.
That's right. That's a straight up pandemic setting. I'm here in the TCB TV minus studios, just in case you're wondering. It's high production value here at the Commercial Break. Nothing is spared. So I thought we would get together today and talk a little bit about maybe more specifically comedy podcasting and its role in the podcasting history, the podcasting universe. I thought I'd kind of start with how I believe that why comedy is so powerful in independent creative thinkers is because it acts as a Trojan horse for ideas. It disarms people. It allows messages to get through without a lot of confrontation, because it's hard to do that when you're laughing. It's hard to get angry when you're laughing. Yeah. It's hard to be upset when you're giggling or when you're smiling. And I believe that's why comedians throughout history have been so successful at using satire, their own voices or their own experiences to get messages through that otherwise may have been very taboo to think about.
It's a perfect example, too, of how to change a culture and how much culture has changed when people start quoting something they've heard from George Carlin 40 years ago. And it is still happening today. And your show is a perfect example of that you like to push the edge in certain areas. And I know you and I have had conversations of, should I go there?
And I think when you look at the kind of the timeline of podcasting, comedy plays a huge role in that. Independent thinkers and creators who otherwise would never have been paid attention to by the traditional media world found a way to get their voice out there independently to a large audience on demand. And comedians came in and really took that and ran with it. And so podcasting to some degree is kind of born on the backs of these independent thinkers who are out there presenting their ideas in a way that usurps traditional media channels. They don't have TV specials. They don't have movies. They're not on Saturday Night Live. They're just talking directly to their audiences. And what a powerful way to deliver that messaging. And so I understand, maybe relevant to this conversation, why advertisers find this type of, media so exciting and so powerful is these audiences are super activated and there's no filter. So I want to thank everybody for listening to our presentation here at the IAB Upfronts. I want to thank AdvertiseCast, who is my ad network. Great guys and girls over there, always supporting the independent voice. And we hope everybody has a good day. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, IAB.
I'm excited as a creator to be part of this, hearing all of this information and talking about it makes me that much more excited. And I hope everyone watching feels empowered to get involved if they aren't already and to really work with independent creators. I know we are excited to work with you. And look, I can vouch for AdvertiseCast. They really do a great job of streamlining the process for everybody and making it simple as it can be.
And thanks so much, Erica, for joining us on the session today. Really enjoyed working alongside you here. And just to wrap up, I wanted to say to everybody in attendance today that, we're here for you. We're here to help you navigate this, crazy world of podcast advertising as it continues to evolve. And you can check us out online, obviously anytime, AdvertiseCast.com, or feel free to reach out to us via email. It's just hello@AdvertiseCast.com. And thank you again for attending, and enjoy the rest of the IAB Upfronts.